The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by BankPlus. BankPlus, it's more than a name, it's a promise.
RKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the BankPlus Studio.
This is Out Warning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
Oh, man. Good morning. I'm done with the cold weather. Just want to let everybody know. I don't know if you wanted to know, but I'm your host, Bo Bounds, and it's official. I'm done with the cold weather. Good morning. Welcome in. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. WRKS, brought to you by Ag Up Equipment. Woo! Driven by your next John Deere tractor, manage your land. It was Mississippi Ag. It is now Ag Up Equipment. Canton and Pearl locations. What are we at? 17, 18 soon locations. agup.com. And the Ag Up Equipment text line for you today, tell us how fabulous we are, is 601-885-3776. We're more fabulous than Bryan Harsin and what's going on at Auburn right now. Y'all didn't even know who Bryan Harsin was until the last couple of days, did you? I know. He shared a stage with Nick Saban last night at the Senior Bowl. That's about all he'll share with Coach Saban. That may be his last appearance as an Auburn football coach, but we'll see. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. You can hit us up on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. And Twitter. Solving the world's problems. One tweet at a time. Twitter at Bo Bounds. And real quick, Mario Cristobal went into Georgia. I think there's a song about this around midnight. And stole one of Kirby Smart's big boy assistants. Mario Cristobal, he ain't scared. He's playing fearless. He's a dragon. He's a warrior. He's going to make Miami good and probably really good fast. So if any of y'all have your Miami stuff from the late 80s, early 90s, you're going to be able to bring it back out of the closet. Take it, go deep into the closet, right? Down to the left, all right? Up in the corner, and grab it, and you're going to be able to wear it sooner than later. I would go ahead and buy Cristobal stock now, though, not in October. Go ahead and buy it now. Blake?
He's stolen assistants from Maryland, Michigan, and now Georgia.
Well, Kevin Steele was at Maryland for 5 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. I think,
and Mario Cristobal called and said, Kevin, this is Mario Cristobal. And Kevin Steele, who's been the defensive coordinator at Clemson, Alabama, and Auburn, said, is this the Mario Cristobal that's living in Miami in the sunshine and in that 3-county area that produces amazing prospects? And he said, yes. And he said, I'm in because my wife loves the beach. And he hung up, didn't even talk to Mike Loxley, and walked right out of the Maryland football building.
That's right.
He's the defensive coordinator for the Miami Hurricanes.
While Jim Harbaugh was in Minnesota thinking about playing in the NFL, nobody was watching his house. Cristobal walked in, stole Josh Gaddis, offensive coordinator, right out from under him. Now the OC in Miami.
Okay, well, let me tell you what happened there. Blake, when you flirt with other jobs, your assistant coaches take notice. And when you flirt with other jobs, a lot of times the administration starts to tip their hand on who they are going to hire next.
Yeah.
And guess what happened over that, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 day timeline? Is that Josh Gaddis realized
I'm not in the cards here.
No, they're going with the guy Hart who played at Michigan. If Harbaugh was to leave, and he realized that after 3 years at Michigan that he wasn't even going to get an opportunity, a real opportunity for an interview.
Yep.
And so when Cristobal called, he said, wait.
I'm out.
Did you just say Miami again in sunshine? And he said, I did. And he said, let's do it.
And not Jim Harbaugh? I'm in.
Yep. So Mario Cristobal has he may not look, I think Mario understands this is a good thing. I think Mario understands, his strengths and his weaknesses. He understands he's not a play caller. He's a head coach, fierce recruiter, and just put together a really good staff, and he's going to let his OC. He's going to let his DC. And Kevin Steele's amazing. Josh Gaddis is pretty good. That duo is that's the best OC-DC pairing in the ACC.
Hello.
So you'll probably see Mike Norvell, possibly get fired at Florida State in the next year, and Dabo take a step back at Clemson. Who knows? The path may be there sooner than later for the Miami Hurricanes. We'll see how that looks. It is fun, though. If Miami and Southern Cal get this thing going, it'll be really good for college football. Also, keep an eye on this. We talk about, recruiting and talent stratification, your talent profile, and so on. Remember this, Cristobal to Miami and Napier to Gainesville. Keep an eye out on kids maybe not getting on a plane to fly to Atlanta and then into Columbus, Ohio, even though Ohio State's a monster. The Buckeyes are really the only program up there that has a cool factor. Watch out if Mario sweeps 10-12 and Napier sweeps 10-12, that there's not near as much left to jump on a plane, because it's easy. Now, I say that, I don't want to get into all that, but to fly out of Miami, Orlando, or Jacksonville and hit Atlanta and then get into Columbus, there's nothing to it. But why would you do that if you've got two coaches that are gung-ho recruiters? Mm-hmm. Watch out if this takes some of the talent away from Ohio State. So, hey, when it shifts one way, it's got to shift, there's a finite amount of 5 stars and high 4s, mid 4s, and low 4s, right? There's a finite amount. And so if Mario and Napier, I don't think there's an if. When Mario and Napier recruit better than the guys before them, I just don't think, and I don't think you'll see as many guys go to Columbus, Ohio. And Dabo was going down to South Florida, and I don't think he's going to be able to beat Mario and Billy Napier much going into that 3-county area or Tampa or Orlando.
Yeah. How about this, Bo? Let's even, you and I kind of touched on this before the show, and I think it's a great broader scope question. A&M now, they signed the number 1 class. They won't be number 1 every year, but they have consistently moved from 10 to now top 3, top 5 at worst in Jimbo's last 4 seasons. They're projecting, to roll in that top 3 discussion with Alabama and Georgia, all 3 of those. So you can rotate through. What that's done is it's done a couple things. It's pushed Ohio State down. It's pushed a couple other teams down. So my question to you is, we know A&M and Georgia and Alabama now are recruiting at this level. If Miami begins to out-recruit the rest of the ACC, which it can when it's run well, and Florida jumps back into this top 8 discussion, where does an Ohio State, a Texas, an Oklahoma, a Michigan, a teams that had been kind of in this range, they've got to fall back. So I guess
you move back a spot or two.
And my question to you is, which teams are in most peril of falling off that cliff and not being up on top of that mountain anymore?
Clemson. I think Texas and Sark will be fine. I think you need to keep an eye on Clemson and probably Michigan. Yeah. And Ohio State even. Because there's a gap after those first 3. A&M, Bama, and Georgia this year. Much bigger gap than finishing 14th and 24th. I think there's a lot of gray there, okay? But I think it is a clear delineation of A&M, Alabama, and Georgia compared to number 7, Blake. I just think, wow. We're live in the BankPlus Studio. Alvin Kamara news, not good. Bryan Harsin may be out at Auburn. Baseball's around the corner. Big board coming up next on 105.9 The Zone ESPN. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head. Premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.
What's on the big board?
All right. Good morning. Welcome in. It's a Sliced Bread Tuesday. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Brought to you by our friends at Cypress Depot in Ridgeland. CypressDepot.com. Leading supplier of cypress and hardwoods, among other materials in the Southeast. CypressDepot.com in Ridgeland, residential and commercial. Show is also presented by Havana Smoke Shop. For all your Rocky Patel and Oliva cigars, Havana Smoke Shop. I-55 North Frontage Road, and then Havana across from Shaggy's at the Res. There you go, Havana Smoke Shop. Good morning, welcome in, the Out of Bounds Show. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Want to thank you for going and hitting up the podcast, Apple Podcast, Podbean, and Spotify. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. Chris Lamonis, Tom Luganville, Steve Robertson, Pierre Thomas, DeMario Davis, and so on. So we had a good week last week.
Yes.
Wow. Really good week. And we're already getting ready for March Madness and Super Bowl this weekend and Super Bowl menu. Ooh. How important is that? Tamales. Maybe some tamales from breezyoaksranch.com. We dropped some of those a couple of days ago. Those were great.
Ooh.
Of course, bacon from breezyoaksranch.com for your Bloody Marys.
You know, if you're a baller, what you do is you make yourself the homemade rotel with like the deer sausage, and then you pour some of that over your Breezy Oaks tamale.
That's a good idea.
Little cheese sauce tamale.
Debris tamales.
Ooh, yeah. Fire me up.
Okay. breezyoaksranch.com. Mississippi farmers producing great premium beef, including steaks, bacon, and tamales, among other things. They're in Canton and Baden. They're awesome. You can order it online. It'll be there in 24 hours. breezyoaksranch.com. Super Bowl menu. Wings, rotel, tamales, nachos, Boar's Head game day sliders. Where else am I going?
Those are the big,
I think I hit a lot.
Those are the
Chips
big
and
ones.
dip.
Chips and dip is like the generic you have to have, but if you're good, you don't have just the store-bought dip. You have like, you've maybe made like a Mexican layer dip or like a, bean dip or something like, even like different spinach artichoke, something like, you're making something homemade, hopefully, and not just going and getting the like French onion sour cream dip.
Oh yeah, that's nasty.
Yeah,
I don't do French onion
you can't go
sour
basic.
cream.
You can't go basic.
That has never appealed to me.
Yeah, you got to do the real. You got to do like the hardcore dips.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
What's your favorite chip to dip in dips?
I don't know. Wendy buys this chip that's like really thin and good and kind of somewhat as healthy as a chip can be.
See, it's dangerous though when you get thin because it's hard to get the stuff on.
Oh, it's not that thin.
Okay.
No. Okay. I've already used it with tacos.
Gotcha.
And she made some rotel a few weeks ago. And so it's already battle tested for the Super Bowl.
Beautiful.
It's just like Joe Burrow.
Have you ever had Captain Rodney's dip? Have you heard of that?
I think I have. I haven't had it a lot.
It's like cream cheese and bacon and it's got this Captain Rodney's sauce. It's all mixed up. It's served like warm. It's fire.
I don't think that sounds awesome.
Captain Rodney's sauce is like this. The company makes a bunch of different, but it's like a boucan glaze that you put in. It's fire.
I'll try it again, maybe.
It's something that like once you start eating, you like stand next to it.
It's like crack dip.
shovel.
Oh, it's like rotel.
Just
you can
shovel.
get in trouble. See, here's your strategically the way you have to go about the Super Bowl. If you hammer rotel at 2, you're not going to feel well.
Yep.
You've got to, you've got to go buy the rotel bowl. But you can't stop for like 2 to 3 minutes, or you're in a bad spot.
Yes,
right.
That's so funny because I made.
And you already said, like me, you're gonna get a workout in Sunday, so that you can consume a bunch of calories.
Yeah, I work out every day, man. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Oh, I don't like work out like people listening. I just try to get my steps in
Yeah.
and do lightweight. It's sad, but it's what I do. But no, I mean
funny.
there are actually people listening that actually
Yeah.
work out.
Yeah.
I will say this about
Not
this
me.
weekend that gets me excited. Even though it's going to be dropped back down, like today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, get a lot warmer and sunshine.
And then we go backwards?
Which is awesome. It plunges on Sunday, but here's the deal. We have sunshine the next 7 days.
Nice.
And if it's going to be cold in February, at least we can all get 5-10 minutes of vitamin D and try to survive
Yeah, you
this
damn
thing.
right.
Yeah. Try to survive this thing and get to March.
Yes, I'm with you on that.
So it'll be cold, but it'll be sunshine on Super Bowl Sunday.
Good deal.
And people can get out starting, well, you can get out whenever you want, but I mean, throughout the week, you can get outside, walk, play golf at Live Oaks, whatever you want. I mean, look, today, high is 58, but how about tomorrow? 66, then 68,
Ooh.
then 68, then 62.
Why does it got to go backwards?
Which
That's
is
not
also
nice.
good for mud bugs, because Matt texted me last week. He said, I just need a little warm weather, and mud bugs will open tomorrow. And if the weather breaks just a little bit for people to not just get outside, because people will get outside when it's cold, but to stay outside another 30 minutes, hour,
Yeah.
that's a good thing for a lot of our people.
It's good for the crawfish, too. You
It's
get,
good.
Get bigger crawfish,
Yeah.
more crawfish. Yeah, we need some
Now,
warm water.
we smashed some mud bugs Sunday. And did I tell you what I did with my cooler?
What'd you do?
I have a Yeti cooler. Well,
Yeah.
everybody has a Yeti cooler. And so let me tell you how dumb I am. So I have the crawfish in the cooler,
All right,
and Wendy's like, Wilkes is playing golf. He'll be back in an hour. Just put them over there. And so I took them out in my little man room where I smoke my cigars. Well, I have a floor heater on there, whatever, a space heater. Well, guess what? I wasn't thinking because I had to do something else, and I put the Yeti by the heater. It melted.
The Yeti?
It melted I'm gonna send out a
That's
picture on
wild.
the Twitters, and
I get those crawfish were hot.
they were fine. No, can I tell you what I had to do?
Did it melt to your floor?
It melted so bad that I couldn't get the cooler open, and I had to get one of those DeWalt knives that they were nice
That
enough
is
to give us,
Incredible.
because DeWalt has been an awesome part. And I mean, this thing's like super sharp, knife, and that's the way I had to open the cooler to get into the crawfish.
These guys are a bunch of dumbasses.
Yeah, it was an absolute dumb blank move on
That
my
is-
part.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
I cannot
Thank
believe you melted your Yeti cooler shut.
Well,
How long does it have to? I mean, it had to have been in front of it for like a good while.
oh, I left it there for an hour plus.
Minimum,
this,
yeah.
The space floor heater
That is
was,
funny.
even though this room is attached to my house, it's not heated and cooled, okay?
Yes.
But we made it everything else so that I can, and I told you about the rollout windows that I got.
I get you.
Shout out to Jeff Norris. And it's super cool. It's the way to go if you're going to do cigars. Well,
Problem is, you melted your crawfish.
right. All right, are you on our Twitter?
Yeah, it can be.
Okay. I'm about to send this out.
Yes,
And
please do.
there's the picture at Bo Bounds
Please
on
do.
Twitter. And I want you to see my
oh my
Yeti.
gosh,
The Yeti melted.
that's incredible.
Isn't that awesome? Wendy
It-
was like, "Are you okay?"
It almost looks like it was in a car wreck. It reminds me of
Yeah.
like a car, like when you
And
smash into someone. Yeah.
Here's the deal. I used to have I became a Yeti dealer, like, I don't know, 11 or so years ago. I thought, okay, I need to make some money. I mean, this makes sense. And I had a bunch of clients order thousands of Yetis, and it was like super easy money. People would send me a logo, I'd forward it to Yeti, and you never touch the coolers, and they drop ship. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. But it was a small window. I knew that, right? Because everybody was getting in. But I became a corporate dealer because of our tie into the promotional product business. And that's my last one. I don't have any more. I don't have any
So
more
you
Yeti.
melted your
and I became
final
a
Yeti.
K2 dealer, and I knew that was going to be a small window. I do have a big boy K2 because Rick's Pro Truck dropped one off one day when we were talking about having a good cooler. RPT shout out.
That's incredible.
Isn't it awesome?
I've seen a cooler get run over, but I've not seen one melt like that. I've not seen one melt like that. That's impressive.
How dumb? I mean, golly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes my brain, I don't know what's going on in it. Wendy always asks me, what are you doing? You're always talking to yourself.
Someone said ship it back to Yeti and ask him, tell him it was a manufacturer default.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. They became difficult to deal with. The Out of Bounds show is driven with Rick's Pro Truck. SEC Insider hit next.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by Breezy Oaks Ranch. For Mississippi-raised premium Wagyu beef and heritage pork shipped straight to your door, visit breezyoaksranch.com.
Let's do it.
This is the SEC Insider Hit. And it's presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue.
What's going on in the world? I mean, Sean Payton's not in the world of football. Tom Brady, Dan Mullen, Ed Ogeron.
All the greats.
I mean, what's happening here?
It's 4 goats right there.
There's no question about it. And Gene Chizik gets back in the world of football?
5th goat.
Wow. So, no Tom Brady, no Sean Payton, no Dan Mullen, no Ed Ogeron.
Be honest, Eddie O's the one you'll miss the most.
Dude. I mean, people had Eddie O as like the next Dabo.
Was there anything?
Well, that ended fast, didn't it?
Anything?
KJ Costello and Mike Leach just boom.
KJ Costello. Is there anything more incredibly college football than Coach O beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa and saying, we're never losing to these bleeps again, and then proceeding to hire 2 coordinators that he didn't hire the next season?
I thought that was awesome.
As peak Ed Orgeron.
Hey, did you hire 2 vice presidents for your company this week? Yeah, we didn't interview them.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend sent me their LinkedIn profile. Seemed good.
Look good. I mean, we had a quick phone conversation.
This guy ran Enron 30 years ago, and it was doing well. Let me bring him in. That's basically what he did with Pelini.
Bo Pelini.
Yeah,
man.
it was like this dude hadn't been good in 20 years, and you brought him in like he was going to be something special.
So who comes back first to the world of football? Tom Brady, Sean Payton, Dan Mullen, Ed Ogeron.
Tom Brady has the best chance to come back first. If I really had to gamble, I'll say Sean Payton.
Okay.
But none of those guys are coming back next season except for potentially Tom Brady, right? He's the only one that would come back mid-year. Coaches don't come back mid-year.
Right.
So
Right.
Those coaches can't, barring some insane circumstance, like a coach died or got arrested and had to be fired in like July.
Right.
Other than that, like none of those coaches are coming back. But Tom Brady, we had some interesting audio we can drop where he kind of left the door open.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't believe it, but I heard it.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I think he's just running all sorts of things through his, mind.
It's the never say never, don't close
That's right.
Don't close the door type
That's right.
mentality, yeah. Because, I mean, who wouldn't want...
What happens first? Dan Mullen takes a head coaching job or Deion Sanders gets a Power 5 job? Or Hugh Freeze.
That's a
Let's do that. All tied to
question.
Mississippi. Dan Mullen. No, I want to start with Deion.
Next Power 5 head coach.
Yeah, Deion
Okay.
Sanders, Dan Mullen, Hugh Freeze.
Throw that poll on the Twitters.
Okay. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue. The official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Good morning. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. I posted a picture of my Yeti cooler that I melted some of while putting it in front of a space heater on Sunday because I was holding the crawfish for a few minutes to get all of the fam home, which is virtually impossible with 2 teenagers who drive. But and it worked out because the crawfish for mud bugs was amazing. Now my Yeti is done. I say that. It's still like I could still put beer in it or again a bag of crawfish to keep it warm or whatever. But after all the Yetis I went through and all the Yetis we sold over, several years, that's the last one. That's the last of the Mohicans. So anyway, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. We'll have Mike Detillier, Saints Insider, at 8:30. Not good news for Alvin Kamara. Allegedly, Alvin Kamara beat the heck out of a guy along with 3 or 4 of his buddies, and it looks like it could be a felony. And anyway, we'll see how all that plays out. And also your Saints have a new they promoted from within Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator for the Saints, who's been there forever and done a great job. Dennis Allen is the new Houdat coach. He walks in with no Sean Payton, no Drew Brees, maybe no Alvin Kamara, and maybe no Michael Thomas, and an aging defense. Although, I mean, I love Cam Jordan and DeMario Davis, and y'all know that, but there's a lot of mileage on those guys. And so kind of your window was the last 4 years. And you played great, and you made playoff appearances, and you had a wonderful team, and you've been a top 5 franchise the last 16 years. I expect you to not even be in the probably top 20 for a little while, unless somehow you land on a quarterback. And I'm not happy about that either, because when the Saints are good and interesting, it's great for this show, and it's 2.5 hours down the road, and it's a wonderful city that hopefully will get its mojo and its mind back post-COVID and really start rocking again. But and then, the Texans made a bad hire. Lovie Smith's not a good hire. They should have hired Brian Flores, who should have never been fired from the Miami Dolphins. So there's your update.
Let me ask you this question. Grade, not necessarily Dennis Allen, but grade the decision-making for the Saints in terms of this. How many times do we talk about on the college level, don't be the guy to follow the guy, right?
Right.
Is this a conscientious decision of trying to keep things somewhat status quo, maybe make an easy transition out of the Peyton era? And if Dennis Allen wins, great. If he doesn't win, it's not quite like end of the world scenario, because you kind of give yourself a buffer after Peyton to then go get the next guy.
Mickey Loomis thought, I know this guy, I'm going to give him a shot. I have the chips and the equity to do this, and this may be Mickey's last hire because Mickey may go ahead and retire in the next couple of years. He may not, but he has made a long run as an executive in the NFL. Yeah. He doesn't need any more money or anything else.
And he's got the Super Bowl, so he's accomplished like what we all set out to do if we're in that industry.
He's borderline Hall of Famer as an executive.
Well, you could argue what he had to build in New Orleans would make him that. Like they didn't get to the Super Bowl as much as like some other executives who have been kind of shoe-in Hall of Famers have.
Right.
But he built it from again, it's like taking Mississippi State or Ole Miss to the playoff 4 years, right? Like in football. Like that, if that happened, you'd be going, holy cow, like this person's a god, right? Like I think that's somewhat similar for Mickey Loomis.
I agree.
I mean, look, I can't believe I haven't said this before. You might be looking at the modern era Saints in Cincinnati right now.
Yeah.
Building around a young, I know Burrow Breeze was a little bit older when he got to New Orleans than Burrow, but similar. Young quarterback has to come back from a devastating injury. Young nucleus of front office talent and coaching talent. I mean, Sean was super young when he took the Saints job.
Yeah, he was.
Zach Taylor, the Bengals coach, is
42?
super young. Yeah. Zach Taylor's younger than that in Cincinnati.
He's 38 or something.
And so you've got, maybe Cincinnati, the who day, will be the who dat of the last 20 years for the next 20. Who knows? Be interesting to watch that.
Yeah. Mickey Loomis, legend. He just overshadowed because Sean and Drew were.
Because
we watch them.
We don't care about front office people.
Mickey's in a suite watching the game, and so we don't get as we don't get as dialed in.
They're kind of like offensive linemen. You're only saying their name when they're screwing up, right? Like, we're having bad free agency or bad drafts. It's the front office's fault.
Right.
But if the team's going well, it's QB and coach, right? It's not, no one ever talks about the front office when you're winning like that.
True.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Kellen Moore's coming back to the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think that's good. You would have, you don't know what Mike McCarthy's going to do, but I don't see him as anywhere close to a top 15 offensive coordinator in the NFL. But that's who Dak Prescott's offensive coordinator will be for at least another year. Is Kellen Moore. Now, Blake kind of thought he would get it. I think you thought he would get a job.
He I did think he would get more run. I'll say this. He only ended up interviewing realistically for like 3 openings out of the 8, which was a little surprising to me. I was adamant that he would be for sure in the circles. It doesn't surprise.
I can't imagine that he would interview well. Maybe.
That's the question. Well, look, Eric Bieniemy's been on the interview circuit for what feels like a decade.
I know.
Do you know that? And I know this is getting off the beaten path, and we can
I would have hired
in.
Eric Bieniemy over Lovie Smith too, but I would have
100
hired
times
Brian
over.
Flores over the 2.
Yeah, 100 times over for Bieniemy. You know, his contract expires with Kansas City this year. So there's some discussion about like what will his future be. Very interesting with Eric Bieniemy. I don't know. I know that's deep football, but
yeah, and our listeners don't really.
You know, I could go down those roads for hours.
Sometimes you do.
I love it.
I love it. All right, let's get into SEC. Derek Mason, you're listening to the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Derek Mason, who was Auburn's defensive coordinator, and prior to that, Vanderbilt's head coach, and who is wildly respected and grades out as a big-time defensive coordinator. Okay? He left Auburn and took a $400,000 pay cut to go to Oklahoma State.
What?
Yeah. According to reports.
How unhappy do you have to be to give up $500,000 and also live in Stillwater?
Well, Stillwater may be cool, but I don't know. But
it's not the Plains. I'd rather be down there.
I mean,
than
Auburn has
Stillwater.
boomed probably more than any SEC town in the last 10 years, and they've got it. I mean, it is. If it's not number one, it's in the discussion. And look how close you are. They've done a great.
Look how close you are to the beach if you're at Auburn.
Yeah,
like everything
you're
about
close to
Auburn.
the beach, and you're close to Atlanta, and that development.
Even
that
New
looks
Orleans
like
is
Seaside
closer.
Watercolor, not Seaside Alice, whatever you want to say. It's kind of a 30A flair. Was absolutely brilliant. The place has exploded.
He had the number 4 defense in the SEC, and he took a $500,000 pay cut to get that blank out of Dodge.
And they don't play D in the Big 12.
Oh no!
You know, Mike, but he does know that Mike Gundy will never, like Mike Leach, will never walk into that defensive meeting.
Nope.
Now, and that is what coaches, just like VPs, EVPs, regional sales rep, but they want as much. If they're successful, don't get in their way. They want as much autonomy as they can get. That's what Derek Mason's looking for. I want to run the defense. If you need me to run something by you, let me know. But, and dude, with Oklahoma, and I don't know how long Derek Mason will stay, but Blake, with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, Oklahoma State may be like the premier program in the Big 12.
You and I talked about that. Oklahoma State and like TCU, like Baylor. Like, it's incredible. How about this? So it's not even a report. It's like 800 people have now reported it that he took that $400,000 pay cut. But how about this, Bo? The $2 million he's going to make or whatever, the 400,000, 1.5 was what he was making at Auburn. The 1.1 that he will make at Oklahoma State will be a school record for a coordinator salary.
Really?
Yeah. Oklahoma State's never paid a coordinator $1.1 million.
Wow.
Think about that. Think about how much we've been paying our strength coaches the last decade in the SEC. $750,000, $800,000 for a strength coordinator.
Several years ago, Todd Grantham and Crime Dog McGriff, Wesley McGriff, were both making 7 figures.
Crime was over 2 because when they paid him out, they had to pay him $4 million. Like, it was a stupid payout for Crime Dog. Incredible that Derek made. Like, what does that say?
And Arnett's making 7 figures. Now, I don't know if Partridge got that through being promoted from within. Lane goes with the defensive coordinator that's never called plays. I don't know if Partridge got that big of a bump, but he may have. Chris Partridge is the new defensive coordinator for Ole Miss. And Chris Kiffin, Lane's brother, is back in Oxford. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that.
Did Derek Mason pay $400,000 to get the last lifeboat out of Auburn?
Well, it sure looks like that Bryan Harsin could get fired any day now.
Under 2 weeks. Mason leaves January 22nd. Less than 2 weeks later, Auburn's under investigation by the university administration. get out while the getting's good.
And
I mean, why
some
did
kind of lieutenant general from the Army is the guy that is investigating Bryan Harsin.
What does it say when your DC, who led your defense to number 4 in your conference, and your OC, who you just hired from the Seattle Seahawks, who was a QB coach, and you don't leave the NFL unless you really feel good about it at the time? What does it say when both of those guys leave within 3 weeks of each other, and one had only been on campus for a month?
He's going after his fifth coordinator hire in 14 months. That's what Bryan Harsin's doing at Auburn. Now, that's good for Ole Miss and Mississippi State. You host Auburn this year. Both of you do. So if they're on, whoever their coach is, whether it's Bryan Harsin or someone else, you have an awesome opportunity to beat Auburn at home this year in Starkville and Oxford. And a lot of the reason why Harsin's in this spot is because Mississippi State was down 28-3 in a game and makes this unbelievable comeback and beat the Auburn Tigers. And Tank Bigsby didn't get out of bounds, and Auburn lost to Bama. I mean, there were a couple of things that could have happened that he would be in a pretty good spot. But you can't lose a 25-point lead to Mississippi State, and you can't have Bama beat and run a play outside, which we could argue all day, running between the tackles at that point.
Yeah.
And run a play outside, and Tank Bigsby either couldn't get down because he got run kind of out of bounds by an Alabama defender, but Tank's a strong guy. You would think he could just fall down. And then Auburn gives Bryce Ramsey just enough time to come back. And then they went into OT?
Yeah,
right?
it was like 55-second drive to tie, and then they go to OT and lose. Yeah.
Okay.
How about this one? I'll take it one step further. You can't blow a 25-point lead at home to anybody. I don't care who it is. You can't lose that game when you need it the most against your rival. But here's the bigger overarching problem. You can't go 0-5 on your way out the door at the end of the season. And again, the 25-point home blow up and the loss to Alabama when you could have won it come inside that 5-game losing streak, but they're just microscopic microcosms of what the whole overarching issue is, which it looks like Bryan Harsin may know X's and O's, but he is in over his skis when it comes to running an SEC program. 15
Which
months
a lot
in.
of people are.
Yeah.
Joe Moorhead.
Coach O, for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, you bottle one out
Will
of 8
Muschamp,
years. Yeah.
Who is that? There are rumors that Muschamp will make a major play to get the Auburn job. I mean, would that be?
Would you see him back at Alabama as DC? Pete Golding out. He's not out yet, but for those who don't know, Pete Golding was arrested for a DUI over the last few days. That never happens to assistant coaches in Alabama.
I don't think he would leave Kirby to his buddy Kirby.
But he's only
work
an
for
analyst,
Saban.
right? At Georgia, he has been an analyst. He was not on field last year.
Has he been promoted, or what did Kirby do?
If Saban offers you the DC job and you're Will Muschamp, how do you turn that down? He's not getting a head coaching job.
Yeah. Who?
Muschamp.
Who knows what Auburn would do?
What would you do if you're Auburn?
I'd go hire.
If you fire Bryan Harsin right now, what are you, Bo Bounds, athletic director of Auburn? Give me your top 5 candidates in order. Who has to say no to get to the next one?
Jeff Brom
is number 1.
Yes.
Over Freeze.
Yes.
Interesting.
Then it goes like Freeze, Matt Campbell. I think they'd all. Freeze would not say no. The other two, I think, would. That's who I'm thinking. I'd at least give Dave Clawson a look at Wake Forest.
Well,
when you win there, there are high school stadiums in Texas that are bigger and better than Wake Forest. A wonderful academic school, by the way, but bigger and better than Wake Forest Stadium.
Fresno,
having driven by there,
yeah.
It's not awesome.
Fresno High School or Fresno whatever built like a $60 million stadium 2 years ago.
True Maroon says Luke Fickell to Auburn. I don't think he would leave his home state. And that boy, I don't think Kyle Whittingham's leaving Utah. Kyle Whittingham has everything he needs. He's been there since Urban Meyer left Utah to go to Florida.
Didn't he just go to a Rose Bowl?
04, 05. So I don't see Kyle Whittingham leaving Utah. I don't see Luke Fickell leaving Cincinnati. Hugh Freeze would leave Liberty in 0.01 seconds.
Yeah, even for a pay cut if it was head coach.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, but yes, he would. You're right.
But look, here's the issue, and we haven't mentioned this yet, and I think Tom Luganville summed it up best. Auburn's not just hiring a head coach. They're having to fight, 60 years of dysfunction?
Well, a good 30.
Auburn being Auburn. I mean, it's essentially what it is. This isn't, the exception. This is kind of the day-to-day norm with them. And, I've always said with that job, you're hired to be fired. All right? It's only going to be a matter of time.
That's why Fickell wouldn't go. You're hired to be fired. Luke Fickell has the college football world in his hand right now from coming out of Cincinnati. He can wait. He can wait.
He can. Hey, Billy Napier was patient, and it worked out, my man.
Look
the
at
Florida
that.
Gators job is a great job.
Look how many he passed over that were good jobs, but not Florida.
We had him going to South Carolina. We had him going to Ole Miss or Mississippi State. We had him going to Auburn. We had him going to Tennessee. He just sat there and waited patiently, kept building his program and winning, and then he landed a big boy job and one of the biggest brands or the biggest brand, but the Gators are so big. I mean, they've won multiple football, basketball, and a baseball title, not counting all the Olympics
in the last 20 years.
They're huge.
Yeah,
they're huge.
Yeah, they're the only school with, I think, multiple titles at least one title in all four major sports.
Here's how strong they are.
The last 20 years,
they're number one academically in the SEC,
which is incredible.
Okay. And they're a top 5 research institution, okay? And then on top of that, it's a crappy town, and it does not slow them down.
Nope.
They are an absolute but again, they don't get into, how awesome this or that is. I mean, for them, it's about winning. And even though it's kind of a tumbleweed town in between Orlando and God knows where.
But that can help you focus somewhat, too.
Maybe it can.
Because there's less distraction. There's less issue.
Yeah.
It's
like Tuscaloosa.
You're there to work, win titles, and get a degree.
I mean, Bama fans don't brag about restaurants, bars, breaking musicians.
No, they have Dreamland. What's there to brag about?
Right. I mean, that's some of the most overrated ribs in the history of the world.
Terrible.
Okay. And yet they just win titles because that's all they think about. It's all they want to do. It's all it drives them, crazy. Let
me ask you this: do you think Deion Sanders
could go to Florida State?
Well, no.
When Norvell's
is he a real name on Power 5 watch lists right now? Like, so if Auburn makes a move, or someone
now, if you hired Deion, if he could figure it out with the staff, surround himself with the right people, let him be Deion. He's the closer, okay? Kirby Smart's the closer. Now, Kirby was rated an A defensive coordinator, play caller prior to.
You better have some good OCDC.
Deion is not a play caller whatsoever. But so
let me ask you this question: would Deion have to stop doing his Aflac commercials with Nick Saban if he coaches Auburn?
That's a great question. But let's go back to what I said earlier. Who gets a Power 5 gig first? Deion Sanders, Dan Mullen, or Hugh Freeze?
Polls on the Twitter at Bo Bounds.
Okay. And so is my Yeti cooler that I melted on Sunday with crawfish in it, and then had to get this DeWalt buck knife deal and break that bad boy open. We were hungry. By the way, we're going to have a couple of these, but right now our official beer of the Super Bowl is Modelo, and it is a delicious beer. Mudbugs has it too. So does Salamukis. Super Bowl menu brought to you by Modelo. We're live in the BankPlus Studio. Mike Detillier, 8:30.